Hello. Hey guys. So, I haven't made a video in a while. Not for any specific reason on this specific channel. But basically, is that on the screen? Is that on my chair? Oh, that's a shadow. So I haven't made a video in a while, just because I'm not a big fan of just repeating myself. And the YouTube algorithm, once you put out a video out there, once it kind of has its initial little flare up and goes out, that's basically the last time that you're gonna ever see some specific content, which is the reason why a lot of videos tend to just be repeating. But at the same time, I think about it, and that's kind of the same way that church is, right? At church, you're basically just repeating. It's no new information, right? And so, I mean, sure, new information in the way of testimonials, and maybe some person has had a specific miracle in their life or something like that. And so you may have these like small little tiny changes, but the overall kind of function of it, the stories are the same. The book is only so big, and most churches ignore a lot of the stuff inside of it. Anyways, they kind of have their specific passages that they teach out of, and they just continue to just go in a circle and all that kind of stuff. So, but I do eventually want to make videos on the tithing things about that, because one of my friends who used to be a pastor at a church, he told me how, and this kind of shocked me because I never knew that this was a thing, because I was just a part of the congregation. I was never a minister. But what he told me was that whenever they were in Bible college, they actually teach classes on how to get money out of people, which shocked me, and he told me, he was like, yeah, well, there's specific verses, there's specific things that you do. Say if you want to buy a church property, but you don't necessarily know if you're going to be able to afford the church property, what you do is you go and get all these commitments, and then you do this and you do that and all this kind of stuff. But, and it's kind of the pastor's job to make it a very masterful appearance. And, there's been some situations where, they've already been approved for a loan, but they just need a down payment. And so what they'll do is at least according to him, what they'll do is sometimes they'll, really, if we can only save up this much money, maybe God will do a miracle in us, and I feel that God's going to work through us and all this kind of stuff. When in reality, they've already been approved. They just need money for the down payment. And so there's a bunch of weird little things like that. There is one, and it can get icky. It can get disgusting sometimes, especially if you have people who aren't as masterful and who have not been taught how to ask the congregation for money. But I thought it was crazy just to hear that it's a genuine class. I thought that they were organic, but apparently no, it's something that ministers do get taught on how to ask for money, which is kind of crazy to me. There was a church that had been robbed, and this was before I left Christianity. I was still very much involved in the Pentecostal church. They had been robbed, and everybody took their instruments, and it was like a Friday night or a Saturday or something like that they had been robbed. And so that Sunday service was basically pretty dull, and the church didn't have a lot of money. Most churches don't, right? So that specific church, they didn't have a lot of money. They ended up getting robbed. Somebody broke in, stole all the instruments, and there was a specific family in the church that was incredibly wealthy. It was my in-laws at the time. And I remember going to the pastor and telling the pastor, hey, I'm really sorry about the whole thing, but I've got a ton of instruments. I'm not going to gift you guys these instruments, but for the meantime, until we can get everything back up and rolling, I've got guitars, I've got bass guitars, I've got all sorts of instruments, so you can still kind of have your, and I had some amplifiers and stuff like that. And I was like, you're more than willing to use my instruments in the time being. And the response from the pastor was, no, let's wait. Let's see what God's going to do. And I was like, and I kind of pressed him about it. I was like, well, God, is he not working through me? Like, I'm offering you, you just got all these instruments, Rob, and no, I'm not giving them to you, but Sunday is a couple days away. It's not a bad backup plan at minimum, and from let's see what God can do turned into let's see what these specific people do. And he had named the people in the church who were incredibly wealthy, and he basically admitted that he was expecting the wealthy people to step up and essentially pay for the $12,000 of merchandise that they had stole, and essentially was expecting kind of an upgrade of all the things included. So it was just like, and at the time, that was my in-laws. And so I was just kind of put off by that, but that's not the focus. That's not the focus of today's video. I tend to find rabbit trails, my bad. Forgive me, or don't. So what I did want to talk about is I wanted to put this video out here about the whole September 23rd, 24th thing. In my opinion, this is one of the most damaging things that Christianity tends to do. Please stop doing it. Now, most Christians, and I would say 70%, I'm just pulling that number out, I have no idea. Most Christians, especially Christians who are more seasoned, who've been around the circus a few times, understand that when a person throws a date out there, it means nothing. It genuinely means nothing. And so September 23rd, September 24th. With all the love in my heart, I'll see you guys Friday. I'm not posting a video Friday, by the way. There's a lot of these channels that are like, yeah, we'll post videos. It happens every 5 years or 7 years. A lot of chaos starts to work up in the world. And the next thing you know, there is some pastor proclaiming this is going to be the end of the world. Jesus is going to come back on this specific day. Now, of course, smaller churches are always going to take the whole thing of, Jesus is going to come like a thief in the night. Nobody's going to know the hour of the day. And so chill out, right? But what's crazy to me is as much traction as this specific thing is getting is kind of out of control. And a lot of people are becoming these prophetic, oh, Jesus told me this, Jesus told me this, Jesus told me this, God told me this, I saw it in my vision. And the most annoying thing is that people are always going to say, you better hope that we are wrong. Because fear, it's the fear, right? That's how Christianity controls people, is with the fear. And the reason why I say controls people is because whenever I was a kid and I was a Christian, a devout Christian, I was controlled immensely by the idea that Jesus was going to come back at any second, at any point in time, and that I had to maintain a perfectly pure life, and I had to be a perfect Christian. And when things would get a little bit hectic in the world, I needed to make sure to cross my T's and dot my I's and make sure that I was a good Christian and make sure I was praying every day. I'd get back into the devotions and make sure, not get back into the devotions because I always did devotions, but like do them more intensely, instead of reading my Bible 3 times a week, I'd read my Bible every single day and 6 times a day, and basically become a monk waiting for this specific day. Now, my dad had experience with it. My dad's 82 years old. And so whenever The first time I had ever experienced somebody putting a date that Jesus would come back, that brought up in me as a Christian, not anymore, because I'm not a Christian anymore, but at the time, it brought up so much fear, so much sadness, because I didn't get to experience the things that I wanted to experience in life. I'm a man. I want a family, right? I want a family. I want my own children. I want to raise a family. I want to see my kids grow up. And in Christianity, you get a lot of that's not going to happen because Jesus is going to come back before then. Don't go to college because Jesus is going to come back before then. Paul even tells people, Paul is the very first person to ever do this, right? That Jesus is going to come back don't take any wives, don't start any new professions, don't do anything because Jesus is coming back. And that was because Paul was under the impression that Jesus was going to come back in Paul's lifetime. And here we are some 1,000 years later, 1,500 years later. I don't know what the difference between Jesus and Paul was. I think it was only separated by maybe 50 years or 40 years, maybe even 10, I don't know. But the whole point is that Paul was under the impression that Jesus was going to come back in Paul's lifetime. You know, it's very obvious, by the way, whenever you go and you read that. And then we find another date, and we get to that date. We stick to that date, and atrocities happen. People go up and drink the Kool-Aid, quite literally, and mass suicide happens. People, in preparation, they sell their house. They get, they donate all of their money to these mega pastors. They donate all of their money to these mega pastors. These mega pastors make all this money off of these events. And then when Jesus doesn't come back, I don't see these mega pastors running around issuing refunds. Oh, sorry, Jesus came back. Let me give you that $10,000 that you donated. They don't give it back. They just hold on to it. And that's why for me, it's like, and this is why a lot of churches don't condone it. No, don't give a date. Don't do any of that crap. When Jesus comes back, Jesus is going to come back. Well, we know how it's going to go. The 23rd is going to come. The 24th is going to come. And then the 25th is going to come. And then the 26th is going to come. And then whatever people made these dramatic decisions to sell all of their possessions, this doesn't affect the people who have been in Christianity for years. Most people have been in Christianity for 30 years, 20 years. They've seen it, Oh, it's this date. Then it goes away. Jesus said he's going to give everybody more time. It's God's mercy. He's giving everybody more time. Then the next date comes. Oh, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Jesus is coming back tomorrow. Make sure you are ready. Then tomorrow comes. Jesus just said he's going to be merciful and he's going to give us more time. And then the next one comes around and it's going to be on this specific date. Jesus is coming back tomorrow. Oh, Jesus is going to give more time. He's being merciful. It's fear. It's just fear. And that's all it is. It's a cycle of fear. It's just a circle. It is just a circle. It's the insanity of Christianity. And it's one of those things where, if you're not really just grounded in who you are and how you're going to live your life, right? Because you can very much stay grounded as a Christian and understand that when people throw dates, it means absolutely nothing, right? And not to prepare for those dates because, next month your bills are due. So don't donate all your money. Yeah? You're still going to have to make your car payment. You're still going to have to make your mortgage payment. Maybe hold on to that, right? And it's just this scheme. It's just a scheme. And it's sad to see. It's really just sad to see. personally, whenever those dates would come, the amount of fear, the amount of anxiety. Am I going to go? Am I going to go? Oh my God, the dates are coming. Am I going? Am I right with God? Am I where I'm supposed to be? And you would literally just be so scared. And my question to you is, how are you scared in that situation? Right? How are you scared in that situation? And I already hear you guys in the comments. If you were truly a Christian, you never would have been scared. No, there are people who are anxious, and anxious people are anxious. And so, and maybe that's just it. Maybe I was just an anxious person, and anxious people are anxious, right? But now with dates like this, when people throw up dates, it doesn't bother me because I know the date's going to come and go, because at the end of the day, and I've heard so many videos of, oh, Jesus confirmed it for me. Jesus confirmed it for me. And so a lot of people are going to be saying, well, John, if you're wrong, is that not how Christianity controls people to begin with? Right? Because whenever I ask a person why they're a Christian, and I press them and I press them and I press them and I press them and I press them, what the ending argument is, right? Because they'll go to the Bible, they'll go to the Romans Road, and then we'll take all that stuff apart. We'll pull out all the issues with it, all that kind of stuff. We'll take it down to the very, 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 very end. At the very, very end, they all say the same thing. I don't know, but I don't want to be wrong. Because Christianity has painted this picture that being wrong will cost you everything for lifetime after 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 life, because it's hell for eternity, right? Never mind that Satan apparently gets to just parade around heaven. In the book of Job, he can apparently just pop in whenever he wants to go to heaven. We are damned to hell. And of course, I already know the book of Revelation, Jesus is going to ban Satan to the lake of fire. Okay, well, why didn't he do that years ago? Why is it that when my uncle died, my uncle went straight to hell, but Satan has apparently been out of hell for hundreds of thousands of years, or thousands of years, whatever your belief is, if the earth is super old or super young. Some people say the earth is 7,000 years old. Some people say it's 25,000 years old. Some people say it's 700,000 years old. And science says that it's billions of years old, right? And so it's one of those things where it's just, however old the earth is, however long Satan has been doing his demonic thing, why is it that Satan has gotten a free pass, but your family member who didn't accept Christ doesn't get a free pass, right? Satan is the one who's responsible for everybody going to hell in the end, and he is allowed to continue on the earth. He's allowed to sit here and wreak havoc. Why is it that God doesn't do the just thing and put the person who's damning all these souls to hell in hell? Right? Oh, well, because we have free will. No, we don't. Because when we die, we go to heaven or we go to hell. Right? Unless you're Catholic or unless you have some other belief. I grew up Baptist, Pentecostal, Protestant, right? You go to heaven or hell. There's no purgatory. There's no in between. It's heaven or hell, which is why whenever we talk about spirits and ghosts, a lot of the Baptists will be like, well, those things just don't exist because you either go to heaven or hell, and so they're demonic. And at least the Catholics know how to deal with it. They say, well, that's just a soul who hasn't, whatever. I don't know how the Catholics deal with it. I'm not Catholic. And so, yeah, it's one of those things where it's just like, the second coming is definitely something that's been drummed up. It's, at the end of the day, what John saw was a dream. It was a vision, right? Visions are not always 100% accurate. The other day, every night before I go to bed, I ask God, what is it that I need to know about the following day? Or what is it that I need to do the following day? Show me in my dreams. And it is never about the very specific thing. It's never about that, right? I'll get a dream that I'm standing in water. And so the next morning, I'll bring my rain boots. And then what happens? I end up standing in water, and thank God I've got my rain boots. Or I'll have a dream and my dad has gotten lost on the moon. And in tarot, which as you know is incredibly demonic according to Christianity, even though in reality it's just a tool, just like the Bible is. The Bible can be just used just as demonically as a tarot deck can. For instance, the people who create those cults who say that Jesus is going to come back on a specific day, they all go up onto a hillside and drink Kool-Aid and commit mass suicide. Tell me that that's a loving experience, right? No, the Bible's being used for something demonic at that point. And if you don't think that that's the case, then oh, wow. If you think that Jesus is genuinely leading people up onto a hillside to drink, to commit mass suicide, no, he's not. Crazy people are, and crazy people are using the Bible because the Bible's a great way to control people. But my dad being lost on the moon, and so in tarot, the moon represents your hidden emotions and things you don't want to deal with. So I decide I'm going to call Dad and find out why he's lost on the moon. And it turns out that my dad has confirmed cancer and doesn't know how to process all those emotions, and he's just been really stressed out. And so, we had a realistic chat and just chat about him and cancer, right? And another dream, but the whole point is this, when God speaks to people through their dreams, it is not 100% to the T. One of these ladies online, she says, someday between the 21st and the 25th of February, and it's not the first and the last day. Okay, well, it still leaves you with the 22nd, the 23rd, and the 24th, which is what everybody has been saying in their dreams. Here's the problem. If people are acting on that dream, or on these people who say that they're getting these prophetic messages, mind you, in the Bible, God says to kill false prophets. What's a false prophet? If he gets one prophetic message wrong, he's a false prophet, must be stoned. Okay, well, we're not going to run around killing everybody. Please don't. Let's not obey the Bible. Yeah, just like when you have a kid that doesn't obey and you take him to the church and he still doesn't obey, let's not stone him to death. Yeah, we can be better than God in the Bible, at least. And yeah, this is the reason why I left Christianity. And it's, my view is pretty simple. And it's not an atheistic view. People are so shallow-minded to say that God only exists in Christianity. No. God exists. God exists, and humans put him in Christianity. That's what happened. God exists, human life happened, and when people got sick and died, people said, God must hate that person. Well, let's look at their life. Oh, they were a bad person. God must hate bad things. Thus, if you're bad, God's going to kill you. Oh, well, you know what? This person died and got murdered. Must have been because of God, right? And you get a whole bunch of these simple-minded people, okay? You get a bunch of simple-minded people who, according to the Bible, are just starting off life, and they've only been on this planet for 1,000 to 2,000 years, who are writing these texts about how everything is supposed to work, supposedly through divine intervention or divine divination, whatever. Not divination. What do you call it? I forget the name of it. Whenever, the way that they say that the Bible is inspired, where it's essentially God is speaking these words into existence, and so a human being is writing them down, acting as God's pen, which we know that that's not, necessarily true. We can look at Paul's stuff and pick Paul apart and see that Paul's a liar. And so it's just one of those things where it's like, but this, once again, this is just repeating a lot of information that I've already said on this channel. At the end of the day, stop trying to predict when Jesus is coming back, because the reality is that you're kicking the bucket down the road. You will not deal with problems that you've created for yourself, because God's going to come back. Why does it matter? God's coming back in 2 days. All right, why did I make my car payment? He's coming back in 2 days. I should have taken that $500 and go on a trip to go see the West Coast or the East Coast, or to go see the flowers, I don't know, or to go give it to the church, right? I shouldn't have made that car payment. Well, because Friday, I'm going to hope that I have made that car payment. And then on Saturday, I'm going to hope that I've made all my credit card payments. And then on Sunday, I'm going to be whatever. It's like I'll be expecting a check, whatever. And so, for me, it's any Christian understands this. Well, any Christian who's been around the block a lot understands that these dates are stupid. You don't want to call them stupid because there is that fear of, I can't call this date stupid, because if God sees that I'm calling the date of his return stupid, that I just don't want to deal with that because I'm so afraid of hell, right? And that's what it all comes down to, is you are being controlled by being afraid of hell, right? A person bears no power over you by standing over you with a gun if you have no fear, right? A person standing over you with a gun to your head, this is probably not going to be YouTube safe, and that's fine. If a person stands over you with a gun to your head and threatens to kill you, right? That person is trying to control you through fear. If you are not afraid of death, if you are not afraid of that being in that position, who knows, maybe you were ex-military and you've been in that position plenty of times and it just doesn't bother you anymore, right? And you are not afraid of death, that person cannot control you. It's as simple as that. And that makes the person who is trying to control you even more upset that they can't control you. So then what do? They pull the trigger, or they get mad, or whatever, But the point is this: fear is what controls. That's why they want you to be scared of all the stuff going on politically. That's why they want you to be scared of all the stuff that's going on with religion. That's why they want you to be scared Jesus is coming back in the next couple days, so it doesn't matter what I do. There's no point in even planning ahead in my life. What's the point? Jesus is coming back tomorrow or the next day. It's a Tuesday, I think, technically. Just for the fun of it, I put it on my calendar. I was like, this is the day that everybody's going to go crazy. And then the next day, everybody's going to get hit with reality and realize that, oh, now I just bought that, famous pastor another private jet, and it's just loop after loop after loop. And it's sad because it actually hurts people. It actually hurts people. People actually commit suicide. People actually go into depression. People actually damage. It damages people. And this is why I have a problem with Christianity. And so, in general, when I see people who defend Christianity, who defend these things, I don't argue with them because I know where they're coming from, because I've been in their exact shoes. And so I leave things as they are, right? Everybody finds God in their own time. And so that's why for me, it's just, just leave things, allow people to be as they're going to be, and eventually they will find themselves back to God. But in the end, everybody finds themselves back to God. Christians are not going to say that, because no, people go to heaven and they go to hell. No, they don't. In the very, very end, at the end story book for Earth and for the entire universe, the ending story is we all find our way back to God and forget that this mess ever happened. Well, maybe not forget that this mess ever happened, but ideally close out this entire mess that we've created here, right? But this brings us back down to the deeper problem. Christians keep trying to find a savior for their problems they are creating for themselves. They complain about their job, they do these, they do that, and next thing you know, they lose their job, and suddenly they need to be saved. They need God to provide them with work, and the devil is taking their job away from them. Really? Because you've been complaining about it for the last 10 years. Maybe your boss just didn't like the fact that you were complaining at work. And so whenever it came time to cut people, they said, why not cut this person? She's always complaining, or he's always complaining, right? So yeah, I mean, I just, I wanted to make this video. If you are a, kind of a very deeply involved Christian, and you are experiencing fear right this moment, I understand. I've been there. Okay. So the advice that I can give to you is to do these things. Don't give all your money to the church. Don't go and sell all of your private assets, right? Because my question is this: why are you giving your money to the church? What is the church going to do with it on Friday? The church is going to be gone too. Why does the church need your money? Why are you going to give all of your money away if they're not going to do anything anyway? They're not going to do anything with it anyway. They're just going to fill up their stores. Friday's going to come and they're going to have all this money. There's no refunds being processed. So don't give your money away. If God is God, if God needed your money, which he doesn't, if God needed your money, I mean, that's so stupid. That thought in and of itself, God needs your money. God doesn't need anything from us. Nothing, nothing at all. He can literally, if he desired, he could literally come in, make the entire skies glow a blood red for 48 hours straight, which would shock everybody's mind, and come down and say, I'm your God. Nobody is going to deny that. And everybody's all scared. That's exactly what's going to happen. It's not what's going to happen. Relax. Will you see some UFOs in the skies? Sure, maybe. But that's not a second returning of Jesus. Jesus isn't stepping out of a UFO, So, and while we're on the topic, let's talk about UFOs. Why are you guys scared of UFOs? What is so scary about the idea that there are other beings in this universe? That is not a scary thought. Why? And if there are other beings that are more intelligent than us, why are you guys scared that they occasionally pick one of us up to study them? Do we not do that to animals in our planet? We are just getting treated the way we treat everything else. We take an animal, we grow it up, we make it nice, fat, and succulent, and then we kill it so that we consume it. That's fine. But the second another being starts doing that to human beings, it's a big problem. No, it's not. It's not, because that's exactly how we treat every other being on this planet. Right? I mean, if you are, number one, they've been here for thousands of years. They've been here since the beginning of time. And we know that. I mean, it's kind of a naive stance to take that we are the only thing that exists on this entire universe. That's a pretty stupid stance to take. Science may tell you to take that stance. Government may tell you to take that stance. Religion may tell you to take that stance. It's quite a stupid and naive stance to take, that in all of the universe, we are the sole thing that exists. Come on. The reality is that whatever is flying up above the sky is as natural as an eagle. It is as natural as a narwhal, or a narwhal, or a narwhal, a narwhal. I've never seen one, but I know they exist because people have experienced them. I've never seen a penguin. I've seen pictures of a penguin. But I know people. Okay, that's a lie. I have seen penguins. I've never seen what do you call that African dog that has the stripes on the back? The Tasmanian tiger. I know they existed. Maybe they don't exist now, but there's pictures of them. And people said that they exist, and you can go and see that the local natives know that they exist. That's enough evidence for me to accept that they exist. So, what? These things in the skies, are they animals? Sure. Are they natural? They're as natural as we are because they've been here longer, or maybe as long as we've been here. So they're as natural as birds, they're as natural as dinosaurs, they're as natural as human beings. So why are you scared? Well, I don't like whenever one of them picks me up and studies me. Okay, well, maybe you have a problem with us randomly picking up penguins out of the ocean, doing all these crazy surgeries and attaching a tracking device to them and then sending them back out into the society where they can get scolded for talking about these crazy events that supposedly never happened in their life, even though they're actively wearing a tracking collar. Like, could you imagine a penguin trying to go back to its family and being like, I got picked up? Like, it's just crazy. but at the end of the day, if you're scared, you can be pushed around, right? The way that you get a bull into a trailer is to scare the bull into the trailer, because a 2,000-pound bull does not go into a trailer unless it's scared. If a bull has no fear at all, no one can get it to go into the trailer. But people have motives. They want the bull to go into the trailer, probably because it's been a long night at the rodeo and they're tired and they want something to eat. And they want to get the bull back into the trailer. So what do? They whack the bull. They smack the bull. They beat the bull. That's kind of fucked up if you ask me. But they do all this kind of crap to pressure the bull to get into the trailer. Scare the crap out of the thing. Pressure it to get into the trailer. If the bull says, I don't care how much you sting me, I don't care how much you scare me, I don't care how much you push me in this direction, I'm at complete peace in myself, that bull's not getting on the trailer. And that's a big problem for everybody who wants the bull to get on the trailer. You can't be controlled when you're not scared, right? With the whole thing that's going on for September 23rd, 24th, don't donate all your money. Do what you need to do to feel safe, because I do want everybody to feel safe. I don't want you to feel like you're about to get picked up. Well, I mean, if that's how you want to feel, then great. But I don't want you to feel like this is going to be some sort of super scary event. And if you're a brand new Christian, this is only damaging to you, right? If you are a new Christian, new to Christianity, this is a lot of unnecessary fear, unnecessary anxiety that you're experiencing right now. In which case, chill out. It's not that serious. So So yeah, my ending thoughts would just simply be this: do whatever you need to do to feel safe. If you want to read your Bible excessively, that's fine. If you want to pray all night long, every night, that's fine. Don't quit your job. Don't get rid of your money, because quitting your job, does it really matter? Because if a whole bunch of people are going to disappear out of nowhere, the last thing that your employer is going to care about is you not showing up on Monday, or I guess Wednesday, right? That's the last thing your employer is going to care about. He's going to have bigger problems according to what's being said, right? So don't quit your job. Keep your job. Don't donate all your money to the church, because what is the church going to do with your money? They're not going to be here either. So why do they need your money? Okay? Don't quit your job. Don't donate all your money. Don't sell off any crazy assets. Keep your car. You're going to need it for work. And if you don't need it for work, then it's going to rot in your driveway. And why is that a big deal? You don't need your access to cash right now. You don't spend it. My question is, why is it that you need to spend your cash before Jesus comes? You don't need to. It's okay for you to go to heaven and still have, 10, 15, 20, 50,000. I don't know how much money people have in their banks. Whatever you have in your bank, it's okay for the bank to hold on to that money while you're in heaven. That's fine. You don't need to give it to the church. Hold on to your money. Hold on to your finances. Don't go cray cray. You're going to want to go cray cray. Chill. Just take a deep breath. Maybe go drink some caffeine. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. But genuinely, the worst case scenario is from the Christian view. The worst case scenario is Jesus didn't come back. And I'm telling you time and time again, after a person who's already been through 6 of those dates, it ain't happening, dog. But Jesus is not going to come back. And you're going to be out of a job because you quit your job. You're not going to have any money to pay your bills, in which case now you may potentially lose your house because you quit your job and you gave all the money to the church, and now you can't make your mortgage payments, and now you're even farther behind. Right? But God's going to reward you because you have to have faith in God. And maybe the reason why God isn't blessing you is because you haven't given. You need to give you need to give to God. It's like all the stuff that the churches tell you in order to get you to give. Now, don't get me wrong, when you have a genuine need, sure. A church should step up for you when you have a genuine need. And if a church doesn't, leave it, because it's not a church worth attending. But yeah, so, okay. Well, that's about all I have to say. The Protestant view is that the reason why we don't build big, massive churches is because Jesus is coming back anyway. So what's the point in spending 300 years in building a church if Jesus is going to come back? That kind of mentality is what stunts people's growth, what keeps... when you look into Spain, Spain got taken over by the Muslims. They basically got dominated by the Muslims for a period of time. And the reason was because the Muslims were so much better at mathematics and science and all that kind of stuff. And the reason is because the Spanish were a lot of Christians, and they were intentionally kept stupid so that they would just follow the church. They would follow the laws of power, and because they were so unintelligent, they didn't know how to build things. The Muslims came in with their science, their mathematics, and essentially annihilated the entire continent of Spain. Continent of Spain? I don't think no, that's not right. Anyways, they basically took that whole section of Europe because of the fact that a lot of the people the Spanish were Christians and were not allowed to read books because it's sorcery, it's magic, and it's of the devil. And the only books that people were allowed to read in general was the Bible and similar scripture-related books. it's control. It's control in all its forms, right? So don't be dumb. Don't get rid of your things. Don't sell your stuff. Jesus is not going to come back. I'm sorry to break your heart. And to be quite frank, the second return of Jesus, in my opinion, has already happened. It's just not happening in the way that Christians expect it. And so it's going right over their heads. They're missing the experience of living in the kingdom of God, and they're actively living in the tribulation because they're just blind to the whole thing. So anyways, cheers. I'm gonna go to bed. I have to wake up early. I love you guys, and good luck tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not leaving you with that. That's mean. Good luck next week. Don't do anything stupid. Please don't. All right, bye.